Bereshit, Genesis chapter 7, verse 17. And the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the waters increased and lifted up the ark. And it rose high above the earth, and the waters were mighty, and greatly increased on the earth. And the ark moved about on the surface of the waters, and the waters were exceedingly mighty on the earth, and all the high mountains under the heavens, they were covered. This is Noah's account of the great flood from his vantage point inside the ark, while he is floating around on top of the waters. So what we're going to do now is to look at the Earth's geology through the lens of the top scientists in their respective fields to see how the rock layers of the Earth with their collection of fossils give their account of the Great Flood. But before we give the Earth's geological account, let us first find out what the Earth was like before the flood. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1 verse 6 tells us about the water on the planet. Elohim takes this one water which covers all the land and separates it by putting some of the water over the planet with an expanse, a sky, between it and the water of the oceans below. Then in verse 9, the oceans come to wait together into one place, so that there is now dry land of the earth above the waters. It is all one landmass, with all the continents joined together. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, also tells us of a great deep. In 2014, researchers announced the detection of a vast reservoir of water trapped within the Earth's mantle at a depth of 660 kilometres. Scientists are slowly catching up, as this deep water was first recorded back in Bereshit, Genesis. In Bereshit chapter 7 verse 11, the earth's mantle of the great deep bursts open, the vast superheated water underneath spurts forth as many huge geysers going kilometres into the sky. The breaking of the earth's mantle starts the earth's plates moving at about 5 kilometres per hour, which splits the planet's single landmass into separate continents, which begin to move apart from each other. Massive earthquakes trigger tsunami, tidal waves, kilometres high, going from east to west. And that's what they see in the fossil and the geologists science find in science. The ark is located at the northeast on higher ground, where it is mostly protected from these supersized tidal waves. By the time the tidal waves get to the ark, almost all the power of the water has been dispersed. The oceans of the north to the north of where the ark is situated also avoid most of the power of the tidal waves, with a lot of the marine life up there suffering little effect. But where the mantle breaks above and below the equator, which is the centre line of the earth, the first powerful kilometre-high tidal waves takes the marine life in their waters and drives it at tremendous speed and power into the land. When the mountains are hit by them, they shatter. Some of them are propelled into other mountains, shattering them. Whole forests of trees are broken off, snapped off at their roots and washed far inland. Many marine life and wildlife are pulverized together into tiny fragments. This first super tidal wave covers all the lower lands of the earth. As the water settles, the heavier sand settles first. Sand in the water settles first, forming a sand layer that over the coming months will turn into sandstone. The pulverized marine life in the water and the earth life is lighter and settles above the sand layer. This layer, higher layer, compacts down over the coming months and turns into limestone. Every few hours, another supersized tidal wave comes, with there being 5 super tidal waves in total. Today, the lower lands of the earth display the effects of these tidal waves, leaving behind 10 layers of sedimentary layers of rock, hundreds of metres deep, even sometimes up to over a kilometre, layered like pancakes, one on top of the other, each with their own limestone layer above it. Now, the higher lands of the earth, which are further away from the tidal wave impact points, they remain untouched by the first tidal waves. Some of the larger dinosaurs are able to escape to these higher lands, but are finally caught up in the last tidal waves. These settle down into a thick mud layer, which compacts down over the coming months. This turns into rock with their fossils. Today we can find these fossils with 95% of the fossils being marine life and just 5% being dinosaurs. Amongst these fossils are many clams. Amazingly, these clams are exactly the same as the clams that we have today. Isn't it amazing that the clams that we have today display no evolutionary change? They're just the same old clams. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 8 verse 1, and Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth and the waters subsided. All of this violent earth mantle movement has caused hundreds of underwater volcanoes around the planet. They are spewing immense ash into the upper atmosphere. This causes the earth to warm up the atmosphere, which in turn causes strong wind currents. The oceans warm up by 5 to 10 degrees, causing great evaporation, especially around the equator, and the oceans begin to drop and the upper mountain ranges break the surface. The warm, moist air travelling through powerful air and wind currents blow north and south, where they are deposited as ice onto the mountains and on the oceans as great ice sheets, causing the start of the Ice Age. The oceans drop even lower. Over the next 150 days, as Noah records, some of the land moves up and forms the mountain ranges. The ocean floors slowly start to sink, causing large underwater valleys. It goes down, the land goes down there. This causes the ocean levels to drop greatly, and the Earth's land goes above ocean level. Hundreds of huge saltwater lakes up high on the land all around the world break through the soft ground and cut away many sedimentary layers, causing hundreds of canyons and thousands of valleys. Some saltwater lakes remain, and later on these totally evaporate over the years, leaving large, dry salt lakes, which they find in America and Australia. Tehillim Psalms chapter 104 puts it this way: Bless Yahweh, O my being, O Yahweh my Elohim. You have been very great. You have put on excellency and splendor, who is laying the beams of his upper rooms in the waters, who is making thick clouds his chariot, who is walking on the wings of the winds, making his messengers the winds, his servants a flame of fire. He establishes the earth on its foundations, so that it would not totter forever. You covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke, they flee. At the voice of your thunder, they hurry away. They go up. The mountains are going up. They go down the valleys, and even down deep oceans. They go down to the place where you founded them. You did set a boundary. They do not pass over, they do not return to cover the earth. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 8 verse 4. And in the seventh new moon, the seventh day of the new moon, the ark did Noah rest on the mountains of Ararat, and everyone comes off the ark. So Noah has 16 grandsons. Bereshit chapter 11 records 70 grandsons and great-grandsons. So based on the birth rate of these recorded grandsons, great-grandsons, by the time we get to the fifth generation after Noah, with the birth of Peleg, we would now have, very fast birth rate, 10,000 men and women, enough to start building the Tower of Babel. Peleg's name means divided or split. Jewish tradition is that at the time of Peleg, the people had one language, and Yahweh split that one language into 70 languages and 70 nations. And this is shown in the Hebrew word Babel, which is from the word Balel, which means to mix up. In Bereshit, Genesis chapter 11, verse 9, it says, that is why its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh did, Belial, mix up the language of all the earth, and from there Yahweh did some to them, meaning Yahweh dashed them into pieces over the face of all the earth, giving us a more fuller understanding of the name Peleg. 70 nations, 70 languages. You know that linguists have discovered that all the languages that we have today go back to about 100 languages. Each year it keeps on dropping a number. And that this dates back to thousands of years. Not hundreds of thousands of years. As well as this, genetic scientists have tested people's DNA from all around the world, and their research proves that all people come from just one tiny family group dating back thousands of years, not hundreds of thousands of years. So what we have today in the way of a genealogical DNA and language is living proof of the Great Flood and the Tower of Babel. Remember how we touched on the Ice Age happening after the flood? Well, this Ice Age went on for about 500 years. At that time, the ocean levels were 50 to 60 metres lower than they are today. Just imagine how the ocean being so low, you'd have all this more land, you'd have a lot more land. This combined with thick ice sheets created land and ice bridges connecting many continents and islands. These bridges provided pathways for the animals from the ark to migrate across the planet. Then came a period of global warming lasting about 300 years. During this time, the ice gradually melts and the ocean slowly rises at 200 mil a year, just this much a year, until they reach the level that we see today. Let us close with the words of Kepha and Shaul, found in Acts chapter 10, verse 38 to 43, and 1 Thessalonians 5, 9 and 10. Indeed, Elohim anointed Yeshua of Nazareth with the Ruach HaKodesh and with power, and he appointed him as judge of the living and the dead. To him, all the prophets bear witness that through his name, everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins. For Elohim did not appoint us to wrath, but rather to obtain salvation through our Messiah, through our Master, Yeshua Messiah, who died for us, so that whether we are awake or asleep, we should live together with him. Shabbat Shalom.